Hey guys, Coach Brix.
Coach James.
The game changed. I want to talk on insanity. So James, why don't you give the audience out there the definition of insanity?
So our definition for insanity is going to be doing the same thing repetitively over and over and over again and expecting something to change or either not change.
Yeah, and I think that's right. And I think this is what happens with a lot of athletes. They do something wrong and then they expect something different to come about. If I keep doing the same thing over and over wrong, like it's a prime example, if I'm a baseball guy and I throw the ball and I keep throwing incorrectly, right? I go to rehab, they fix it, but I never change my mechanics. I just keep going back to the same thing. That's having the same result over and over, but expecting something different to happen. I keep throwing it incorrectly, but I'm expecting it to change. It doesn't work like that, okay? That's not how it is. And this goes for training when we see a lot of athletes who work extremely hard in the off season, okay, bust their humps 6-7 months. Then all of a sudden during the season, they stop training for whatever reason. Wow, we're too busy, we're too this, we're too that. And I look at them, I'm like, that's an excuse, number one, okay? But then all of a sudden you get hurt and then you expect something to change by that. And it doesn't. You have to keep training. You have to keep working all the time. You can't stop. You got to keep pushing yourself. You can't expect something different to happen. And we've had athletes that have done this. So they come in, they've been with us for 3-4 years. They work hard in the off season, boom. They hit the end season. They're great at the beginning of the season because they train. And then by the end of the season, the body starts to break down because they didn't listen to us and say at least come in at least once a week. And then they get hurt. And their parents are like, I don't understand. And then it happens the next year. Same exact thing. And you're like, we just told you that you got hurt last year. Yeah. This season's going to be different. And they do it the third year. And you're like, I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand. Everybody puts an excuse out there. Like, they just don't have time. And that's the worst thing to do because you're going to have a lot of time once you're hurt and you have to sit out and you can't play. So you're going to have tons of time. You should never get to that point. Now, I'm not saying just because you train in season, you won't get hurt. That's not 100% guaranteed. Okay. Nothing in life is guaranteed except death. But those are the things that you have to start thinking about. If pro athletes do it and college athletes do it, right? They train all the time. What would make a difference between your youth? Why is a youth athlete any different? Okay. Why are they not training in season? Why are they not doing the things necessary to maintain that strength and actually get stronger by the end of the season? I use myself as a prime example. My best games my last 2 years in college, okay, playing college basketball, were the last 8 games of the season. Always. We played 24 games. My last 8, my 1/3 were always my best. Always. I always shot better. I was stronger. I had more rebounds, points, everything, okay? There was a reason for that. I trained all year where a lot of the guys on my team stopped. Okay, I trained. I did my own workouts. I trained all in season stuff. So I maintained and actually got stronger at the end of the year where a lot of the guys were breaking down and falling apart. And that's just how it was. Okay? I did that not knowing what it would do. I just did it because I like lifting, but it paid off. And then it started to show me, wow, everybody needs to train in season. Everybody needs to do this stuff. Okay, and this was back in the 90s when a lot of stuff, especially with basketball players, you didn't lift because it was taboo. You're gonna mess up your shot. Well, I didn't have a shot to worry about, so I didn't matter. I was a horrible shooter, but that's why I lifted, to maintain that strength. And I think that's one of the keys that we see with people just doing insane stuff. You know what I mean? It's just crazy to see the schedule that they try to keep. Especially with AAU basketball. They have 7-8 games on a weekend. It's every weekend starting from end of March till May, June, July sometimes. 2 practices a week. And then they wonder why their body's beat up. Well, I can't come in, Dave. We're just too busy. Yeah, 7 games in a weekend, you're going to be busy, but you're going to also be paying for it dearly. And that's not how the body works. So what do you see, when you see an athlete come in, after, we told them, hey, you got to make sure you're coming in during the season. I know we can think of one right off the top of our head, who worked their rear ends off all season. We kept telling them and saying, you need to come in season. Didn't. And then finally the body broke down. So what do you see with that?
It's almost like you see the athletes that think like that, and they think like they're almost invulnerable.
Yep.
And they can't be touched. Like they've been able to do it for so long, they could get away with it. But again, like you mentioned, the wear and tear of, say you did it since you're 10, you were able to play year round, you didn't have to take breaks and whatnot. You didn't have to focus on maybe the strength training and giving your body that break. So they're able to do it for so long. And they were like, oh, I I never had any problems before, but now as the schedules change, these seasons go where they're practicing 6-7 days a week for a lot of these high school sports that you see. We look at them and we're like, I know we look at, like, you hear the some of these kids' schedules and you're like,
Yeah.
you're like,
ridiculous.
you don't have time. You do have time, but it's like, dang, you really don't have time, like, out of your sport. And as soon as, say, they're in high school, as soon as that high school season is done, not even before it's done,
Yeah.
they're jumping right into their club season for soccer. Baseball, they're jumping straight out of their fall travel ball to in-season stuff.
Yeah.
So they just never have breaks, and it's just their bodies, they don't understand. And now as they finally begin to understand that their bodies are breaking down, that they see that, okay, wow, Dave and James were right.
Yeah.
Our bodies maybe do need a break. And you see, I always try and tell the athletes when they're going into the season, especially the ones that are trying to take it more serious than they want to play college sports. I'm like, you guys do realize that even if you have 2 or 3 games during the week, you're still waking up at 7-8 o'clock to go lift before class.
Yep.
Once you hit the off season, we talk about it with our football guys when they get into their freshman year. Once the football season's over and you go to winter workouts, you're up at 6 a.m. for a winter workout.
Yep.
It's not fun, but it's like you're in season, you're still lifting, and as soon as you get out of your season, you're still lifting.
Yep.
It's a constant thing that it's just, you make it part of your routine almost.
Yeah. And I think that's what you got to make sure. You don't want to have that insanity mindset. All right. You want to do stuff that actually changes, actually want to make yourself better each and every time. So if something's not working, you got to change it. You can't expect it to do the same thing over and over. If I keep doing math and I keep putting 2 + 3 is 5, or 2 + 3 is 4, I can't keep doing the same thing and say, oh, expect a different result. It's not going to happen. You have to start changing. And parents, you need to start changing the mindset. Coach James is right. Yeah, just because you weren't hurt at 10, your body eventually starts to break down. It's just like sickness, okay? Sickness is built on toxins built in your system. It's not some germ that caused that. It's all the toxins that you can't get rid of. So then when you do get something that comes in, you can't excrete it out anymore. Usually doesn't happen in young kids, okay? Because you don't have as many toxins. Eventually it builds up. Same thing with injuries. You eventually start to break down. So don't have that insanity mindset. Change it. Watch what you can do. Guys, this is Coach Brix.
Coach James.
The Game Changers.